Good evening. I would like to call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado for Monday, November the 10th, 2025. If you would please stand as you are able and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll of the members?
Leah Dozman,
Here.
Rachel Holteen,
Present.
Janice Hoppy,
Present.
Dan Larson,
Present.
Scott Ohm,
Here.
Jenny Snell,
Here.
Amanda Weaver.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilors, I want to recognize Councilor Hoppy with the respect to the approval of the minutes. No, yeah.
There are no minutes for this
I
evening.
mean, not the minutes, the approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move to amend the order of the agenda by moving the consent agenda before proclamations and ceremonies.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Will the clerk please poll the council?
Motion carries.
Okay, with that, we are going to go to the consent agenda. Councilor Hoppy, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce consent agenda item 1A and 1B. 1A, a motion to approve the city manager employment agreement at issue, amendments to the city manager's employment agreement, including increasing compensation, retirement plan contribution, technology stipend, and other conforming changes. Item 1B, a motion to cancel the November 24, 2025 city council meeting. At issue, there are currently no agenda items scheduled for November 24th, 2025 city council meeting. To give city council and staff more time to spend with family and friends during the Thanksgiving holiday week, staff recommends canceling the November 24th, 2025 council meeting.
Thank you. This is our consent agenda. May I have a motion on consent agenda item 1A and 1B?
I move to approve consent agenda item 1A and 1B.
Second.
Will the clerk please poll the council?
7 ayes, no nays, motion carries.
Thank you. With that, we will go to proclamations and ceremonies, and the first item will be the swearing-in ceremony for the newly elected officials. And I understand that Mr. Goff.
Yeah, we have, thank you, Mayor. Judge Lucero is here this evening to do the swearing in, so he will do one at a time. When your name's called, new council, new elected officials, please come to the dais. Thank you. Corey Stites. You kindly raise your right hand. I, Corey Stites. I, Corey Stites. Do solemnly and sincerely declare. And affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States. The state of Colorado. And the charter and ordinances of the city. And will faithfully perform the duties of the Wheat Ridge mayor position. For which I'm about to assume. Congratulations. Congratulations, Mayor Stites. Kathleen Martell.
Starker, we have
we're gonna put you on the spot a little bit. We have a little recognition, or a little token of our recognition for you. Some photos of you during your term, and you also received a certificate from Congresswoman Brittany Pedersen, thanking you for your service. So,
Thank you very much.
did you want the mic before you step down? Okay.
I have nothing prepared, but I want to say this has been really an honor of my lifetime to be able to be the mayor of Wheat Ridge, Colorado. I think this is a wonderful city, and I'm really enthused about the residents that live here, about the people that come here, about all the great things we do. I've had a wonderful council to work with. I want to thank you. Our staff is the best in the state, and I want to thank all of them. And without all of these folks, I wouldn't be here, and it certainly wouldn't have been a great day. But I appreciate everything that you've given me, and I want to thank you all very much.
Kathleen Martell. Kindly raise your right hand. I, Kathleen Martell, do solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, the state of Colorado, and the charter and ordinances of the city, and will faithfully perform the duties of the Wheat Ridge City Council, position for which I'm about to assume. Congratulations.
Ms. Hoppy, I think, does have a speech. But first of all, thank you very much. This little token from us, your nameplate, and again, your certificate from Congresswoman Pedersen. But, you want to do pictures first?
I wrote mine down because I thought I would get nervous and forget what I wanted to say. As I stand before you tonight, I'm filled with gratitude. Serving on City Council has been one of the greatest honors of my life. Though my term is ending, my commitment to this community remains strong. Over the years, I've had the privilege of working alongside passionate colleagues, dedicated city staff, and most importantly, our community members. Together, we've faced challenges, celebrated victories, and built a city that's more inclusive, resilient, and forward-thinking and looking. To my fellow council members, thank you for your partnership. To the city staff, thank you for your tireless dedication. And to our community members, thank you for trusting me, challenging me, and walking on this journey with me. To the new council members stepping into this role, lean in, show up for the hard conversations with courage and compassion, fight for policies that reflect our shared values, and be willing to compromise when it leads to progress. Prepare for meetings, respect the process, and never lose sight of the people you serve. While I'm stepping away from the seat, I'm not stepping away from service. I'll continue to be your neighbor, your advocate, and your biggest cheerleader. Thank you for the opportunity, the memories, and for reminding me every single day why local government matters.
Scott Ohm. Kindly raise your right hand, sir. I, Scott Ohm, do solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States, the state of Colorado, and the charter and ordinances of the city, and will faithfully perform the duties of the Wheat Ridge City Council position for which I am about to assume. Congratulations. One more. Congratulations. Patrick Quinn. Kindly raise your right hand. I, Patrick Quinn,
I, Patrick Quinn,
do solemnly and sincerely declare
do solemnly and sincerely declare
and affirm that I will support the Constitution
and affirm that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States,
and laws of the United States,
the state of Colorado,
the state of Colorado,
and the charter and ordinances of the city,
and the charter and ordinances of the city,
and I will faithfully perform the duties of the Wheat Ridge City Council position
and I will faithfully perform the duties of the Wheat Ridge City Council position
for which I am about to assume.
for which I'm about to assume.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I did say my words the other night, but it's just been an honor to serve the Wheat Ridge community. This really is the best community in Colorado. So the city staff, you all are amazing, and you've made what is a pretty hard job not harder, which is a lot. So thank you very much. It's just been my honor. So thank you. Thank you, the community.
Mike Okada. Raise your right hand. I, Mike Okada,
I, Michael,
do solemnly and sincerely declare
do solemnly and sincerely declare
and affirm that I will support the Constitution
and affirm that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States,
and laws of the United States,
the state of Colorado,
the state of Colorado,
and the charter and ordinances of the city,
and the charter and ordinances of the city,
and will faithfully perform the duties of the Wheat Ridge City Council position
and will faithfully perform the duties of the Wheat Ridge City Council position
for which I am about to assume.
for which I'm about to assume.
Congratulations.
I also did not prepare anything, but wow, time flies when you're having fun, right? It seems like in the blink of an eye, 8 years has flown by. It definitely has been an honor and a privilege to serve the city that I have lived in for my entire life and represent District 4. I really, really appreciate all of my colleagues. I've learned so much from each and every one of you. Even if we haven't agreed on all of the issues, we've disagreed agreeably, and we've had those difficult conversations, and we have done some incredible work over the last 8 years for the city of Wheat Ridge. I really appreciate that we kept the issues local, and we all kept what was best for Wheat Ridge at the heart of our decisions, and that really steered us forward, and we've seen a lot of growth and improvement in Wheat Ridge, and I hope to continue to see that in the next chapter. I'm really just grateful, and also to my parents, who I know are watching. I would not have been able to serve in the capacity that I did if it were not for them. One, choosing Wheat Ridge as where to raise myself and my siblings, and giving me the opportunity to raise my kids in my childhood home. Promise I wouldn't cry, because I really try not to. But it's been an amazing experience, and I love our local government. And I came in here probably much to staff's apprehension, kind of as one of those naysayers and the NIMBYs, since I had been a long time resident. And I will say that staff is the most competent and most helpful, and they have really made this experience all that much more wonderful. And so I just really want to thank staff, and thank all of the colleagues that I've served with over the years, and I look forward to continuing to remain committed to the city of Wheat Ridge, and kind of giving you some hell here and there.
We don't normally do this, but let's give it up one more time for our outgoing elected officials. They did a phenomenal job. If I could have Maki DeLay, Steve Art, and I believe I saw him, Tad Overstreet, join me up here, please. We have one proclamation tonight for Small Business Saturday. Whereas Small Business Saturday is a day dedicated to supporting small businesses and communities across the country. Founded and backed by American Express, this day is celebrated each year on Saturday between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And whereas, according to the United States Small Business Administration, there are 36.2 million small businesses in the United States. Small businesses represent 99.7% of firms with paid employees. Small businesses are responsible for 61.1% of the net new jobs created since 1995. And small businesses employ 45.9% of the employees in the private sector in the United States. And whereas 59% of the U.S. consumers aware of Small Business Saturday shopped or ate at small, independently owned retailer or restaurants on Small Business Saturdays on Small Business Saturday in 2023. And whereas 68 cents of every dollar spent at a small business in the United States stays in the local community, and every dollar spent at small businesses creates 48 cents in local business activity because of employees and local businesses purchasing local goods and services. And whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. And whereas the city of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, supports our local small businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. Now, therefore, I, Corey Stites, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, and the entire City Council do hereby proclaim November 29th, 2025 as Small Business Saturday. encouraging residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. In witness thereof, on this 10th day of November, 2025. Okay. We will move to our public's opportunity to speak. Citizens may speak for 3 minutes on any item not on the agenda. There are no more items on the agenda tonight to speak on. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. In front of the clerk's desk up here, there are 3 lights. There's a green light when you're good to go. The yellow light tells you when you have about 30 seconds left, and the red light means please wrap up your comments. I'll call you up in order in which you signed up. I'll call up the first person, and then I'll call up an on-deck person just so that you know and you're ready to go. If I mess up your names, I do apologize. Gretchen Josta with Austin Caldwell on deck.
Would you mind handing the jumper?
Oh, and also let me add, if you would, please introduce yourself and let us know if you live and work in Wheat Ridge.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Gretchen Jostin. I live in Wheat Ridge with my husband. Hello again, returning city council members and Mayor Seitz. Thank you for your time. It's nice to meet you, Kathleen, Pat, and Mike. We know that the community members of Wheat Ridge have elected you for your character, background, and accountability, and we are thankful for your time here. My name is Gretchen Jostin, and my husband and I live across the street from Auto Wash at Lakeside on Gray Street. We've lived in our home for 10 years. I've compiled a list of activities to brief you on what has taken place since the beginning of the year to bring you up to speed on this situation that has negatively impacted so many of our lives and unfortunately continues to do so. Per our last time at the City Council back in June, we are so thankful for the time and efforts of Lauren and Patrick, who helped us to see a glimmer of hope in this battle for our peace. They presented Auto Wash with a citing of non-compliance of their special use permit for 2 issues: door operations and operational noise impacts on the neighborhood. You can follow along in the notes to see what has happened up to this point. But from our perspective, all of the actions of Auto Wash since their opening have one thing in common, which is deception. We asked for the city to implement closure of Auto Wash until they are in compliance with their outstanding non-compliance issue from June 24th, door operations. We do not find them to be currently operating in compliance with either of the city's findings. However, we will focus on this one issue for now. In cold temperatures, Auto Wash's system defaults to operate with both bay doors down during the wash and dry operations. When both bay doors are down, the noise is contained within the building and is not spread out into our neighborhood and out into some of our other speakers' neighborhood across the street, across 44th Avenue. We request the city to require Auto Wash to close the north-facing doors during the dryer function, and there are several options to ensure that this can happen. The best option is to close the north-facing door for the complete wash and dry function. Another option is to leave the doors open during the wash and then automate them to close during the complete 2-minute dryer process. And yet another option would be that if they cannot close the doors during the dryer process, they can still operate by only offering their basic package option without dryers at this location. I'd like to remind you that Auto Wash has 26 locations, and this is the only location with 4 automatic dryer bays. And this is Auto Wash's only location that is this close to residential properties. I'm hopeful that this small step can be made, which can have a huge impact on the return of peace to our homes, lives, and neighborhood. Thank you.
We have Austin Caldwell up and Mike Jostin on deck. Just go ahead and introduce yourself and
Howdy,
let us know.
folks. My name is Austin Caldwell. I've lived in Wheat Ridge for approximately 8 years now. I live in a vicinity, a couple blocks, really next door to Gretchen. And I appreciate her time up here. In the 8 years I've been here, I've loved our community. I've got nothing bad to say about it. I'd live here the rest of my life if I could. But I will say in a very pointed statement, and I apologize if this comes off the wrong way, I should not have to be standing here in front of you guys today. Our community became aware of this business back in September of 22, and it was stated to us that the business and the city as a whole would, that the sound would not be an issue, as especially compared to the previous auto wash business that was in place. That particular point is not true. When this business opened, it became very apparent to us that this was going to bother us day in and day out. At the point, it was a 24-hour operation. You could hear the operation running day in and day out. The business did decide to shut down for 90 days in an effort to minimize their impact on our community. With that being stated, it seems to me through their process, deceit is the only word to describe their operation. They put a hateful message out on their boards outside of their business, basically describing us as the noisy community that is just bothering them, not the other way around. And it seems to me that they have gone out of their way to provide zero notice to you guys and the written notice which is required upon opening this business. And what I ask this committee is to hold the business accountable and our city accountable for the practices of approving businesses as they enter. As a resident, I just feel like that's seems fair in the grand scheme of things. I'm curious. I'm no lawyer by any means. I don't understand the requirements of the sound study that was placed against them. I'm a little confused why they were allowed to operate on their own accord and nobody's supervising their actions. Gretchen was nice enough. I travel for work, but her and my buddy were able to sit outside and realize that the practices that they were using to monitor the sound, it's not factually correct. It doesn't mirror the actual operation on a day-to-day basis. And it just seems to me that it's odd that in this notion of deceit that they're allowed to run the sound study on their own with no supervision. So I'd be curious as to what the sound study requirements are and why we're not supervising if we're truly trying to do better for our residents. And I guess that's really the grand scheme of things. It's just a point of frustration that citizens have to come up here and have these arguments. You know, I'm nobody important, but at the end of the day, I support the people that I live next to in my community, and I think it's only appropriate that we do the right thing by, I'm not looking to shut down businesses. If they, you know, it's a capitalist country. If they want to make money, that's their right to, but I'd like them to operate inside of those parameters. That's my piece. Thank you for my time.
Thank you. Mike Jostin up and Chris Neitzold on deck.
Hello, my name is Mike Jostin. I'm living in Wheat Ridge with my wife Gretchen. We live across the street from the auto wash. You probably can hear a lot about this tonight, but we're not trying to, we don't want to shut their business down. We're just trying to get on a common ground with these guys. I mean, we're just going back and forth. And we've talked to the neighbors, and I feel like the simplest solution would just be shutting those north-facing doors. If that's a possibility, if they could work with us and do that, that'd be great. Or just, you know, maintain their dryer somehow. But yeah, that the noise is constant and it's still going. So something we're still dealing with. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Chris Neitzold and Jan on deck.
Mr. Mayor, councilmen and women, thank you very much for your time and the opportunity to speak here before you. I have 3 minutes. Was that correct? My name is Chris Neitzold. I live at 4350 Gray Street. And start my time. That, folks, is a minute and 21 seconds worth of a dryer operation off of the bays. A minute and 21 seconds. The dryer function goes for 2 minutes. Just want you to keep that in mind. Now, I have a couple questions with my remaining time. Was the sound test conducted by the sound engineer, done with all the vacuums running and all the bays running? And is this a fair representation of, as this is a fair representation of it running at full capacity on a busy day? Next question. Does the noise code restrict the sound in which way it exits the property? Does it matter whether the decibels go that way, this way, or towards the back, towards the residential neighborhood? And if it does, the sound emitted from the property be higher if it's towards, like, another question of that is, if it's towards a commercial property, is it allowed to be higher than it is towards a residential? If it doesn't matter which direction the car wash is emitting the decibels, then what are the decibels on the sidewalk in front of the business with the bays running and all the dryers running at the same time? Just some questions. We ask you to take these concerns, these valid concerns to heart and help us resolve this issue. Thank you guys for your time, ladies and gentlemen, for your time.
Thank you. Jan is up and Mike Trujillo on deck.
Hi, I'm Jan Fasinelli, and I have a veterinary consulting practice at 4355 Gray Street, and I share the fence with the car wash. And I must say that I'm disappointed because it was so nice having the summer quiet. But this week when the car wash opened again, I could not leave my windows open in my exam room, and clients were wondering what that noise was outside. So it impacts my peace of mind in my work. And I'm surprised they did put up a nice fence. It looks great, but it is not a sound fence. It's not like the sound fence that's along Wadsworth and 38th Avenue by the nursing home. That to me is a sound fence. The fence that they put on is just butts up to my fence, 6 feet tall. And the sound comes over the fence and through the walls and through my windows. It doesn't come through the fence. That's not where it's coming from. So I'm just hoping also that I'm one of that small vocal neighborhood group that was slandered as saying that it's their fault that it's, they closed down. And my understanding is that they chose to close for the summer because they had criteria they had to meet by the city lawyer by a certain and within a certain date and certain time. And so they thought instead of meeting all of those deadlines, they would close for 3 months and mitigate. But it was the last 2 weeks before they opened again that they put up the fence. That's really not a sound fence. So I would just like to think that the ownership would be responsible to the neighborhood, be a good neighbor. Like, we don't want them to close down either, but there's got to be things they can do to make it more comfortable for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Trujillo and Sandra Sands on deck.
Hello, council member. My name is Michael Trujillo, and I have been a resident of Wheat Ridge for 41 years. I own 2 residential properties at 45th and Ingle Street, which is approximately 2 blocks west of the Auto Wash, just 1 block west of the Lakeside Walmart behind Seifert Automotive. I have enjoyed 27 years in my home without any problems now, and now I honestly and truly believe my peace and enjoyment and devaluation of my properties are all at risk, including everyone else in this complaint. Because of the new car wash on 44th and Gray Street, the sound and disturbance is very alarming, abrupt and unpredictable, and loud beyond what a person should have to endure. I thought I had done my due diligence and was told by city employees to let due process happen, which I did. Now the car wash is reopened and still causing the disturbance of the peace. I believe that there are simple solutions to this major problem. They have been specified through suggestions by myself and other residences in the area. They are experiencing the same noise problem. I have confidence in the city of Wheat Ridge that they will resolve this problem to the fullest extent of their power. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Have a good night.
Thank you. Sandra Sands is up and Scott Galloway on deck.
Hi, I'm Sandra Sands. I've lived in can you hear me? I've lived in Wheat Ridge 10 years. I'm a native Coloradoan. I'm a retired social worker. I worked in psychiatric care. I'm a taxpayer, and I want to change things up a little bit and say this. Many of my neighbors in Wheat Ridge, they have goats and chickens and things like that, and I just love it because it brings us all back to a time when Wheat Ridge were beautiful farms and people were neighbors and people fixed potluck to come by if somebody got married or somebody died. Well, all of a sudden, all you farmers, we're letting the fox watch the chickens. I hope you get that metaphor because this company, this auto wash company, they're doing their own evaluations of the noise level. And everybody's trusting that. They've been court ordered to close, and I wanted to stress that. They were court ordered to close because they were in such violation of the sound, the nuisance. And yet, they keep being the ones that measure it. And so I like the gentleman in our neighborhood, lives up the street from me, when he played how loud it was. And that's not, he wasn't sitting there at the blower. That's 6 or 7 houses up the street. And Mr. Archuleta lives clear across by Walmart and hears it. So again, I want to stress that metaphor. Let's quit letting the fox guard the chickens, because what usually happens in my grandparents' day, and they were farmers, the chickens get eaten. And our neighborhood deserves to not get eaten or be up all night or have babies that are fussy because the sound is annoying. And also we have veterans from the Vietnam War who are having flashbacks because at 3 a.m. there are these loud sounds that could emulate some of the war sounds come out of their PTSD. I'm not exaggerating. I'm just telling you historically and of today's date how life is for human beings living in this community and the rest of the country. So again, let's get the fox out of the chicken coop and let's monitor the noise they're making and require they build the wall that Jan mentioned that really will cut down on sound and close the bay doors when a car's in there being blown dry. Simple solution, and we want them to have a great business, but not at our expense. Thank you.
Thank you. Scott Galloway.
Hi, my name's Scott Galloway. Excuse me. I live on Gray Street. I'm about 8 houses south of the car wash. And I can actually hear that car wash run when I'm outside on my property. I have been down adjacent to the car wash when those dryers are running, and they are loud. That recording was no joke. I mean, that's what they sound like. I've been in Wheat Ridge for over 30 years in that location. It's very peaceful across the street from a park. I don't think it's a good vibe, a good look to have a commercial property move into a neighborhood and disrupt all the neighbors. It's just not right. I think the solutions are pretty simple from what Gretchen was saying. Close the doors. Well, that makes perfect sense to me. Or, if you can't meet that decibel requirement, don't run those blowers. Maybe pull outside and dry it off by hand, whatever. All I can say is I think it's disturbing that these businesses, that they try to move in and they disrupt our neighborhood. We've been there a lot longer than they have. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. We also normally take comment on our special study session that we have tonight. There are no people signed up in person or online. Is that correct? Nobody else signed up tonight. So we will go to our next order of business, which is city attorney's matters.
Actually, I think it's city manager's matters. I don't know if he has anything.
I do have a couple items, Mayor. Thank you. As you all know, there's an empty seat right next to the mayor. Corey Stites did resign his seat as District 3 council member earlier today and was sworn in as mayor this evening. Our city charter requires that city council appoints a new District 3 council member within 30 days. We've initiated public notice of the vacancy and will accept applications for that position through 5 p.m. on November 21st. City Council will conduct interviews at the December 1st study session, and City Council will appoint a new council member at the December 8th council meeting, at which time they will be sworn in. Any questions on that process?
Seeing none.
Then also, we want to talk about the city clerk vacancy. As you all know, the City of Wheat Ridge ballot question 2B was defeated at last week's election. The question would have amended the city charter to eliminate the elected city clerk and city treasurer positions. Chris Miller, who is here this evening, I believe, yeah, he's still here. He will continue to serve as city treasurer through his term, which ends November of 27. The city clerk's position has been vacant since the passing of Steve Kirkpatrick. City charter does not specify a time frame for filling vacant city clerk seats, but staff will bring back a proposed schedule to discuss with city council at next week's study session, if that works.
Thank you. Sorry, now city.
That's
attorney.
all I got. Thank you.
Now city attorney matters.
Actually, nothing, although you'll hear from me in the special study session, so I'll save it for then. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to elected officials matters, and I will start with Councilor Snell.
Thank you, Mayor. I will reserve until after our special study session. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Holteen.
Thank you, Mayor Stites. I know most everyone's left, but I just really want to thank everyone who's served alongside me, they now get their Monday nights back. In addition to losing just their passion, and we have great new people coming on, I did the math, and the council that I've been serving alongside that turned over tonight had 45 years of collective experience across the 8 of us. This new council, once we get fully seated, will have 14 years of experience. So I just make that point in that not only, did we have just extraordinary people, but there was a lot of depth of experience and history that we bid adieu to tonight. But they all started somewhere. They all had a day zero. So it's an incredible experience to be up here and to learn from your peers and the community and staff. And you will keep learning every day until it is your turn to accept the flowers and the framed picture. But I just want to congratulate the new members, and I'm really looking forward to working with you guys and moving forward. I'm sorry that our car wash crew already took off. I just wanted to address a few things. They've been in communication with Councilor Ohm and myself and city staff, and we are working with them to set a meeting to address some of these outstanding concerns. We've got a pretty good catalog of their questions. They presented them tonight, but we have received them also in writing before the meeting. I did want to just make mention that the car wash has volunteered to close between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., so it is not a 24-hour business. I think that's something I'll just flag that I'd like us at some point as a council, when we're ready, to take a look at our business operation hours for businesses that don't have personnel working, if they can stay open 24 hours or what that might look like. So that's a policy discussion in the future. So anyway, we, city staff and Councilor Ohm and I are working with those neighbors and are going to look forward to having a meeting with them to see what options are moving forward. And with that, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Holteen. Councilor Larson.
Thank you, Mayor Stites. First, I'd like to recognize the members of the council who stepped down tonight. Again, the experience that is leaving the council with them will be sorely missed. But on a much brighter note, I would like to welcome our new council members. I think we are going to be one of the best councils ever, without a doubt. Last week, I was able to had the opportunity to attend the Jeffco Economic Development Corporation's Gateway Awards, where Mayor Starker was given another in a long series of awards he's been given within the past couple of months, and he deserves every recognition he gets. And then since it is an opportunity to speak about whatever I want, I'd like to recognize tomorrow as Veterans Day. Tomorrow, November 11th, is Veterans Day, the day when we honor all of those who served, living and dead, who have served in the U.S. military. Originally a national holiday called Armistice Day, it recognized the signing of the armistice that ended World War I on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918. In 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower issued an order changing the name to Veterans Day. Today, Veterans Day honors the patriotism, service, and sacrifice for all of those who serve or who have served, both during wartime and in peace. On Veterans Day and throughout the year, we sincerely thank all of our veterans for their service to our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Larson. Councilor Okada.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Just wanted to briefly say thank you to District 4 for the confidence and for the support. Campaigning was a ton of fun, and I know that serving on the council is going to be a ton of fun as well. I am honored and humbled to be a part of this group. I've had the privilege of being able to be at quite a few city council meetings in preparation for potentially being on this body, and I have a deep respect for all the work that has been done up to this moment, and I can commit to everybody here, to everybody in District 4, that I will always be doing my best.
Thank you. Councilor Quinn.
Thank you, Mayor Stites. Well, I've been waiting to say that. Mr. Mayor, I would like to thank a few folks, especially the citizens that came in tonight to talk about their issue. It's good that we have that outlet for them, and I'm encouraged by them coming down and talking, and hopefully we can get that problem figured out in short order. I'd also like to thank all the voters that came out November 4th and prior to that and cast their ballot. It's very important that we do that, and I just think they need to be thanked. It's a good, just thank you for voting. I'd like to thank all the volunteers that helped all the candidates, and also at the state and local level who counted the ballots, picked them up, took them to the clerk's office, and so on and so forth. Thank the city for having Wheat Ridge 101. I believe I am a prodigy of that. I think I heard that today. So thanks for holding those classes and getting citizens excited about serving their community. And would mirror Councilor Larson's thank you to the veterans and honoring Veterans Day. It's also the Marine Corps birthday, by the way. My family on my mom's side runs deep with the Marine Corps, and it's also one of the counselors up here's birthday, and I just thought I'd have to throw that out there. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Happy birthday, Councilor. Tomorrow, right? All right, tomorrow. Councilor O.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank all the everybody who voted. We had a really good voter turnout, I feel, in Wheat Ridge, which was really great to hear. And thank you to all my district, to people out there. You really showed up and voted. Thank you for your support. To the people for the car wash, we've had a lot of conversations, and we will continue. Councilmember Hotia and I will continue to work with you and staff. We really want to try to find a good balance and find some good solutions. And so those are something that are ongoing, and I've asked questions to staff, and we want to continue having those conversations to find a solution. I too was also at the Gateway Awards, and Mayor Starker has had a wonderful farewell tour that is the envy of many mayors. So wish him well, and thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Martell.
Thank you, Mayor Stites. So kind of along the theme, I would like to thank quite a few people as well. Thank you to District 1 for turning out and voting. And I want to recognize District 1 Councilwoman Janice Hoppy. Those are some big shoes to fill, and I look forward to staying connected with her as we move forward. And I also want to thank Councilperson Jenny Snell, who's been a great mentor for me in my campaign, and I look so forward to partnering with her to represent District 1. And I also want to thank all of the District 1 community members, some who I know and some who I've not met yet, who have already reached out to schedule coffee. I have like 30 coffees in the next week, and I don't drink coffee, but I'm going to learn. But I'm just so excited about how much engagement has already happened, and meeting so many people. You know, you think you know all your neighbors, and there's always more to learn and more to meet. And I'm really excited about the different ideas that are coming out of these conversations, and also the concerns, and how do I learn how to respond and how to guide them, and how we can take those concerns to move forward and continue the progress of past council and keep moving forward. So I'm just really excited and very appreciative. Thank you.
Thank you. I also had the opportunity to attend the Gateway Awards with several of you the other day. Mayor Starker absolutely deserves any award that he's gotten over the last few months. And the Gateway Awards were fantastic too, just getting to see some of those really cool businesses that Jeffco has come online over the last few years. Pretty impressive. Speaking of new businesses, this Thursday, I'll be doing my first official ribbon cutting as the new mayor. That'll be at Wheat Ridge Poultry and Meats, the new Wheat Ridge Poultry and Meats on 29th Ave. Friday, we have one at a smaller liquor store, 44th and Field, kind of right next to Pietra's, and then that's at 9:45 in the morning, and 10:30 in the morning, we're cutting the ribbon on the new T-Birds, which is a pretty phenomenal facility too, so excited to do those. I want to thank our outgoing counselors and the mayor. I just had a little bit to say about each of them. Leah Dozman and I have been friends for a long time. We grew up in this community together. I had the opportunity to help with her campaign 8 years ago, and I was kind of reflecting on that today. It was just her and I driving around in my little Prius, knocking on all the doors in District 4, and it was kind of an uphill battle, but she ended up pulling it off at the end, and her dedication to this community is second to none. She absolutely loves this city, and whether you agree, disagree on different things, she cares about this community and cares about the people in it. Amanda Weaver has been the most phenomenal partner I could have asked for as a city councilor. She's represented District 3 with a fearsome intensity at times, and a loving hand in others, and I really have always been impressed with the way that she conducts herself and her business. Janice Hoppy, 10 years on city council is pretty impressive, and I believe 3 of them as mayor pro tem. She and my dad, I believe, since the charter change, have been the only 2 councilors, I believe, that have served 10 years on council, and I've learned so much from her, both as a councilor and as a mayor pro tem, and I highly recommend that if you guys go back and watch some of those older YouTube videos and stuff, you'll learn a lot from her. And then Mayor Bud Starker has been a phenomenal mayor for the last 8 years. He's given us as a council the opportunity to really stretch and push what we thought we could do, and hopefully, as I kind of step into this role, I'm going to take a lot of the lessons that he taught me over the last few years, and I couldn't have had a better mentor. So I appreciate those 4 that left tonight, and they're phenomenal people, as well as did a phenomenal job for our council and for our city. So thank you to them. And while I'm thanking everybody, tomorrow is Veterans Day, and it's something that we should remember the people who've served for our armed services and served for our community, to make sure that we have the freedom that we enjoy. And for all the people who voted, for the people who came and spoke tonight, we wouldn't have that without those people. So big thank you to them. We are going to, do we need to take a break, or can we just start? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute break, so we'll stand adjourned in this meeting, and we have a special study session starting right at 7:30. I'd like to call to order the special study session for Monday, November 10th, 2025. We have one agenda item tonight, which is our elected officials orientation. We did public comment for this before in our regular meeting. We had no comments. So we will go directly to Mr. Goff or Mr. Dahl.
Okay. Well, I promise not to keep us late at all. I know you've all got, celebrations to attend maybe, right? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for this time. I really appreciate it. And welcome, of course, to the new council members, and delighted to be continuing to work with those of you that have returned to your seats. To me, that's, as Bud said earlier, he said it much better than I could. It's been the honor of his life, he said, to serve as mayor, and it's really the honor of my life to do public work. And I've only represented local governments my whole career. And as I tell people till they're tired of hearing it, the great thing about local government is the product of local. If you're a business, your product is making books or making, selling water, and that's fine. That's your product. What's the product of the city? Product of the city is making people's lives better. That's the product. And we do that with the easy things to recognize, or things like parks and recreation, trails, etc. But we have zoning regulations that make people's lives better by dealing with, among other things, businesses and how those interact with residences. We have a police department and we enforce laws. Those make people's lives better because their lives are safe. We have public works department. Why is that making people's lives better? Well, once the Wadsworth project is finished, but the point is, you can drive through an intersection in the city and it's safe because there's street signs and there's street lights and they're maintained. They're expensive to put up. They're expensive to maintain. And who does that? It is the city. And so the city's making those people's lives better. We have courts. And you'll hear from the judge, of course, next week. He's got an open house next week that I want to plug in a minute. But that provides justice for people, for both victims and those accused. And that's making lives better. So, the product is making people's lives better. Now, we argue all the time about how to do that, right? Or which way to make people's lives better. But it's truly a privilege and an honor to be generating a product that the arguments you have are how to make people's lives better, not whether to do it or not. That to me is absolutely huge. And that's why I love what I do. And you can tell that I do. I really am committed to working for local government, because that's where you make a decision tonight and it happens out there the next day. At the State House, not as fast. And that's where I'll stay. It's just not to go any further than that. But I wanted to tell you that's really what guides what I do for you. And I wanted you to hear that from me. In any event, Patrick has put together a PowerPoint that I'm going to follow, but you also have in your materials sort of a prose version of that from me. And I'm going to work off that prose version, but take that home with you. Pardon me. Take that home with you. It can be just sort of a resource if you have a question later. But the PowerPoint covers the material I want to cover kind of by topic. So let's just do that and see if we can get done here before 8. And questions, interrupt me, or we take them at the end. And on that point, I realize that for 3 of you, it's the first time around. And for others, you've seen it maybe before. And so the questions usually, like they do for me, never appear and occur in the moment. They occur later when I'm loading the dishwasher. So the point is that this is a process, not an event. Council training, right? So it's not, okay, we've done it and we're all done. My door's always open. I'll make sure the new members get my contact information to contact me with questions, because you'll be in a position in a month or 2 where you'll have more questions, because you'll have had experiences that give rise to that. So it's, as I say, this is not something where you have to get it all done tonight. We'll cover quite a bit and hopefully give you some things to think about. Without further ado, the organization of the city. you all know this as members that are just elected or have served a long time. The ones that are just elected got elected because of the way the charter is set up. And that's the first section I have here. The city has a home rule charter. The city was incorporated in 1969, but it adopted a home rule charter in 1976. There's some 90, give or take, cities in the state that are home rule. I think probably more now, but when I was the attorney at the municipal league, it was about 70, keeps getting larger. Almost all of the home rule cities in Colorado are also city manager structure, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But of course, home rule, if you have a charter, that allows you to enact ordinances that are inconsistent with state statutes and kind of write your own ticket on issues that are, quote, local in nature as opposed to statewide. Good example would be the structure of the council. You can choose how many the charter can say how many council members and what their powers are, whereas the state statutes dictate, if you're a statutory city or a statutory town, how many members you have and what their roles are. So our charter is allowed to do that. An example of something of statewide concern would be the driving age. You can't have 18 years for the driving age in Denver, or 16, or the drinking age, and a different age in Lakewood or in Wheat Ridge. You can understand why there's a need for statewide uniformity. That is a theme that the city will see and you will see regularly, because the legislature is constantly adopting statutes that they declare to be of statewide concern that sometimes aren't. And there's often litigation around it. A good example is of the requirement that many home rule cities have for certain employees or some employees to live in the city. That was challenged by employees in Denver because the state legislature enacted a statute that says, no, you can't require your employees to live in the city. And the legislature lost that case, and Denver prevailed in saying that municipal employment is a matter of local concern. We ought to be able to establish the requirements within reasonable limits of what are that are applicable to our employees. These are, I'm not saying necessarily that's for here, but these are examples of that tension ongoing between the nature of what's local and municipal under a home rule charter and what's statewide in nature. And as matters come up, there will be times that the council will be asked to consider an ordinance that might be inconsistent with a state statute, but we've come to the opinion, and I'll have to give it to you, whether or not it's really a matter of local concern or not. So it's important to just kind of note that. A couple of interesting things in the charter. The mayor is required to vote in the case of a tie. It isn't a choice. The mayor must vote in the case of a tie unless it's adoption or amendment of the budget. And so if that's the case, then a tie vote fails on council. In all other cases, you know, if you've got 8 members here and it's 4-4, the mayor's required to break that tie. You can override the mayor's veto. The mayor has a veto power, but that's 3/4 of the entire council, so that's 6 of you. If there are only 6 of you in the room, all 6 of you have to vote to override the mayor's veto. It isn't 3/4 of whoever's here. It's 3/4 of 8, which of course is 6. So there's that. That's the Wheat Ridge Charter. It's like the Constitution for the city. Next, we have the Wheat Ridge Code of Laws, which that's this book right here. And the biggest chapter is like larger than all the others, and it's about the size of all the others put together, is the Land Use Code, which is typical for most cities. The Land Use Code is the largest. But this code covers, it is basically all the laws that are local and municipal, as we mentioned earlier. Chapter headings here, we've got administration, adult entertainment, animals, buildings, elections, fire prevention, health, nuisances, improvement districts, the court, motor vehicles, solid waste, streets, and sidewalks and nuisances. Did I say that? Trees and shrubs, television, cable, urban renewal. So that gives you a thumbnail sketch of the topics that we address all the time. That's the Code of Laws. And that brings me to the voters and the role of the voters. And you're intimately familiar with that because you are all the product, aren't you, of the role of the voters. They not only, they elect, obviously, the council and the mayor at on odd numbered years. For some reason, the materials that I wrote out had even numbered, and I apologize for that. Disregard that, it's odd numbers. So the voters, of course, they have, you know, 4 formal roles and 1 important informal role. The 4 formal roles are electing, you know, voting at regular municipal elections for their representatives yourselves. Number 1. Number 2, initiative, where the voters actually write their own ordinance and propose it to you. And your job under the Constitution and the Charter, Constitution of the state and the Charter, is when it's presented to you, when a proper initiative petition with enough signatures is presented to you, you have 2 choices. You either adopt that ordinance as presented, or you send it to election. There is not a door number 3 where you say, no, we're not gonna, that will not become law. If you don't want to say yes to it, that's fine, but the default is it goes to the voters. Similarly, you pass an ordinance, and you're presented then within a certain amount of time, I think 45 days, with a signed petition with enough signatures for referendum from the voters saying, we are asking you to repeal that ordinance. And again, you have 2 choices when you're presented with that petition. You either repeal it or you send it to an election. And we've had referendum elections on referendum petitions frequently here in the city during the time I've been the city attorney. There is a hoop that has to be jumped over, though. You've got to have enough signatures within a certain amount of time for referendum. For initiative, it's a little broader. Then lastly, there's recall, which happens rarely here in the city, but occasionally. And on any given year, you hear about recalls in municipalities. That's another petition with enough signatures to recall an elected official. Those are the 4 formal roles, but you're well aware of the large informal role of the voters. And you saw that in practice tonight, and you will every night when there's public's right to speak, when people buttonhole you in the grocery store and say they want you to vote for or against something, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Huge role, and I don't have to tell you about that, and it'd be wrong for me to pretend that I know how that is, because you're the ones that face that all the time. And the councils here have always done a really good job about reaching out to and being responsive to their voters. And I think it's served them well, because there haven't been that many recall elections. I can't remember one. Every now and again there's a noise, but you know, here, there are other jurisdictions where that's a lot more prevalent, and it's not true here. Because I think there's just such a good and ongoing communicative relationship that the city council builds. Bringing me to the city council, which is the next slide. It's you're the legislative body. You enact all those ordinances or send them to election if the citizens bring them to you. You act by motion, resolution, and ordinance. Those are the 3 ways council acts, and you act as a group. Individual council members don't have the power to enact or not enact something. You have to act as a group. You have to have a quorum. There have to be 5 people in the room, 5 council members in the room. The mayor doesn't count toward a quorum. So 5 of you have to be here for us to do business. If there's an ordinance on the agenda, all 5 have to vote for it, because ordinances under our charter require affirmative vote of 5. So if there's 5 in the room, that's an ordinance is not going to pass. And you would think, well, gosh, we have a quorum. The motion was to approve. The motion passed 3-2. Aren't we good? And the answer is no. You're not good, because the charter has a slightly higher bar for that. There are a couple of actions that require 3/4 votes of the council. One is, I think, disposing of parkland. Requires that's unanimous. Thank you. Other property, other city-owned property, and the city has some random properties that aren't park, but again, that's a higher vote standard. Let's see, what else do I need to say about the council? Importantly, you only appoint 3 employees: myself, city manager, and the judge who you met earlier. Those are the 3 employees that you appoint. All the other employees of the city are under the jurisdiction of the city manager, and we'll get to that council manager structure in a minute. This gives me a chance to say, on the municipal judge, for the city attorney, city and city manager, we serve at your pleasure, and you can dismiss either one of us at any time, and that's your prerogative, and you have that right and should. The municipal judge by charter serves 2-year terms at a time, and you cannot remove the judge, having appointed the judge, during that 2-year term, except for some specific, commission of a felony, intemperate acts, and some pretty narrowly defined subjects. And that makes sense, and that's true generally in the state, because you want judges to have a sense of independence such that they can't be pressured by the council to start handing out different kinds of sentences. But this gives me the chance to say, do plan to attend, if you can, the open house the judge will be having right next door from 11 to 2 next Tuesday, the 18th. And it's a sort of, the court staff will be there. It'll be, here's what we do in that room over there, which is right next door, on behalf of the city. And in my opinion, this is enormously important. And I uniformly urge council members to show up at court. The open house is great. Show up at court on a regular court day and just watch what happens. I think Councilmember Larson has done that, and I think would agree with me that we have an impression of what municipal court is, and then you go. And some of your impressions are right, but some are wrong. And it will be a really fulfilling experience. I think it's enormously helpful to see how the judge and the court staff treat your constituents, the people that are in court, getting their lives made better through the application of justice. But that is important. And I've always been very proud of the judges in Wheat Ridge who have spent the time with individual defendants necessary to ensure that they believe that while they may be convicted, they are being heard and they're being treated fairly. And as is so true across the country, people would rather win every time, but they get it that that's not even the law of averages. You don't always win every time. You're not always innocent. You did speed. You've got that ticket. And they're okay with that if they feel that they were heard and that they had a fair opportunity to present mitigating circumstances, whatever. And the way to make them feel very upset is to not hear them. And the judges here are really good at that. Understanding that for the judge, it's the 1,000th case like that he has seen. For that one person, it's the only case in their life that they will have seen. And it's their primary impression, their only impression of what the city of Wheat Ridge is all about. Very often is the people that come here and will speak, that's their impression. But it's such a narrow window of opportunity. And I had a judge say that to me once, that it's one of the few times he said, a person's full attention, right? You're in front of the judge, you have their full attention. And he said, I try to make use of that as much as I can. So I'm taking too long to say, you should show up, and I know you will enjoy being there. Well, your actions, you act, as I said, by motion, resolution, ordinance. All the laws that go in this book get adopted by ordinance. There are resolutions, often resolutions on kind of transitory, one-time things, declaring a certain special event, something that doesn't really rise to the level of needing to be a regulation that we're going to adopt and implement today, tomorrow, next year, 5 years from now. That's in this book. But things that are more transitory can be done by resolution. Do we adopt budgets by resolution? I think we do. Because they're transitory. They're important, but a budget for a year is a budget for a year, and the next year you're done with that budget, and so you can do the next one. That's an example maybe of something that doesn't have to be a law. When you meet, second and fourth Mondays, and then there's, of course, study sessions. Your meetings are open to the public except for executive sessions, which we'll talk about in a minute. Bringing me to the council manager structure. You appoint a city manager, as I mentioned earlier, and the manager hires and supervises the departments, the department directors, and through them, all the employees of the city. It's the manager's job, not the council's. And I quoted this material right out of the charter for your information because it's important for the functioning of the city. And the charter dictates this, that you don't dictate the appointment or duties of any department head or employee, and you deal with the employees only through the manager. And it's a matter of style, but it's very corrosive, I think. This is not happening here. but I represent other cities and have always in my practice. And there have been circumstances where individual council members would call up the snowplow driver or call up the public works director to say, especially in a little city, it's usually the snowplow driver, how come 3rd Street is getting plowed before whatever? And imagine the position that puts that employee in. It's just an untenable position for that employee. And that is why we have this charter provision that is universally respected, and it's respected here in Wheat Ridge. I know that Patrick will have his style for getting council input out to the employees, but that's why you have a professional city manager. Bringing us to ethics and conflicts of interest, which comes up occasionally. You're expected to act ethically. You'll notice there's a charter section on it. You'll get not a lot, but there will be questions on this, not so much from you as from people calling up and saying, well, I think you have a conflict on this, and therefore I think you shouldn't be able to vote on this matter, that I am concerned you will vote the wrong way. So I think because you happen to know the prior owner of the property that's now Pietro's Pizza, and it's now being rezoned, that's not happening. But, I'm trying to make a real example for you. I think for that reason, you need to step down because you used to be in partnership with that person 5 years ago, and therefore step down. I'm here for you to help you navigate those kinds of things. The base rule, of course, it's in the charter. It says you can't have a material or significant financial interest with the city or with, a matter that's in front of the city. So if there's a contract to hire a planning firm to do a sub-area plan for the Fruitdale area, and you're a part owner in that firm, that's easy, right? Your spouse is a part owner in that firm, also easy. As I've said in the written materials, and on this one, when you get a chance to look at them, it's on the 3rd page, not now, but this comes up a lot, and people really do struggle with, well, what's a significant or personal financial interest? And I have to answer these questions continuously, and I'm very familiar with it. The significant personal interest is always your immediate family, husband, wife, spouse, children, parents. But when you get further out, no. And you'll say, well, how much further out? And my answer is, call me. Because these things are so fact specific, and I've seen these fact patterns. It's not that I'm that old, but old enough to have seen a whole lot of them. And I will have navigated something like your question or that question before. And I know what the answer is in terms of which side of the line it falls on. So once we get out of the consanguinity, blood relations, and marriage relations, the main rule is financial interests. And that's whether you could lose money or gain money. All right, it includes, it's not just gaining money, usually it's that, but if you stand to lose money by virtue of what's happening and you have a role and an ability to vote on it, that's when you'll be advised by me probably to step down. So I've said in the written materials, always contact me in advance. I really will be able to tell you, yeah, this works or this doesn't work. And if you've seen council meetings in the past where I've made a little record, because that way it's clear and it helps you, I think, for the people that are asking these questions. And very often, I think I've done it with Councilmember Ohm, I think once upon a time, I forget on what, but I will ask the mayor, and we'll set this up. We'll ask the mayor at the beginning of whatever agenda item that is. The mayor will say, I'd like to recognize the city attorney for a quick matter and some questions of Councilmember Ohm. Thanks for letting me use you as the example. And, I set that up with the mayor ahead of time. Councilmember Ohm knows that. And I'll say, Councilmember Ohm, is it true that you are a member of XYZ firm? Yes. Does your firm have an interest in this contract? If it's yes, then maybe you're going to be stepping down. But no. Is it true that you know some of the people in the firm that's proposed in front of you? Yes. But do you have any interest in the firm that's being considered for the award of this of this. Do you have any financial interest? And the answer is no. And then I'll say, thank you. And then I'll always say, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, because of this, I've determined that Councilmember Rome does not have a conflict of interest that prevents him from voting. And in fact, he needs to vote because the charter elsewhere says that council members, unless you have a conflict, are required to vote on every matter in front of the council. I represented a board of trustees at one point where one trustee would try to recuse kind of regularly on things or abstain regularly on things that were kind of uncomfortable. Well, you know, if it's not a conflict of interest, you know, sometimes it is uncomfortable, but it is your job, you know, to vote yes or no. And if people are pressuring you, you can always ask me to make a little record that, yes, you're required to vote here, despite the fact that people have been pressuring you to abstain or to step down because of a conflict. We'll do another little Q&A, and that's important for the record. It's also protection for you, I think, and that's a protection that you are entitled to, and I'm happy to help give you. So there's that. The moral of that whole story is call me ahead of time. These fact patterns are sometimes a little confusing. People try to confuse you, not necessarily with bad intent, but they have heard on the street said 3 different times, well, I heard if this, this, and this, then you've got a conflict. Someone said that to someone once, who said it to someone else, who said it to someone else, and the 4th time it acquired the force of law somehow. You've noticed that? It's street law, you know, that sort of grows up like a weed. And I'm there to say, no, that's not true. Here's what is. And we'll make a little record to clear it up at the next council meeting. Happy to do that. One thing that's important to think about is quasi-judicial matters. All of the land use stuff that's chapter 26 that you get, rezoning, PUD, subdivision, not variances, that's Board of Adjustment, special use permits. These are all quasi-judicial, meaning you are applying the rules of the book to a specific property, and you act as judges or quasi-judges on that matter, but you act as a group as those judges. And just as if Patrick here sold me a car that I thought was not a good car and I decided to sue him and Mayor Stites was the judge, everyone would agree that it would be inappropriate for me to take the judge out to lunch and bend his ear about that car. Now, Patrick has a very nice car and he probably wouldn't sell it to me anyhow, but everyone would agree with that, right? So and I use that funny example, I always do, to remind people that's actually the role that you have on land use cases, which are 99% of the quasi-judicial matters are land use cases. And it's inappropriate to, once the case has been filed with the city, once the application's in, to have a conversation with the applicant or opponents on the matter. When do you hear from them? You hear from them in this room, in the noticed public hearing. Just like the judge hears from me on the Patrick case at the trial, not at lunch and not at the grocery store. And so the trick, of course, is twofold. One, knowing what's quasi-judicial and what isn't. And you will get regularly a list that the Community Development Department publishes in emails to you that says, here's the quasi-judicial matters that have come in the door. Once they've come in the door, the application's complete, and they're in our system, it's a pending case. And the little curtain comes down, this curtain, the quasi-judicial curtain I'm describing, you know, comes down on you. But you'll have that list, and it says who the applicant is, it says what it's for, a 3-unit sub or a 5-unit townhome project. It'll say where it is, who the applicant is, and sort of where in the process it is. Pending planning commission. Planning commission's done, waiting for you, that kind of thing. So you'll have a real good idea when someone buttonholes you and says, I want to talk to you about the project at this location. You'll know and I encourage you to look at that list carefully so that you have it in your head when you are sort of trapped in the grocery aisle. So that you'll know to be able to say, well, on this matter, I can't talk to you because it's quasi-judicial. And because it's quasi-judicial, we go to the next slide. There we go. My assistant here is, there, okay, fine. Because when I'm trying to talk to the judge outside of the courtroom, that's a quote ex parte contact, right? It's outside of the hearing. If a person wants to talk to you about, opponent wants to talk to you about a rezoning in the grocery store, that's ex parte, it's outside of the hearing that's going to happen here that we're publishing notices for here. And so that's a contact, as I've said in materials, with the applicant or opponents on matters outside the scheduled public hearings when there's a matter pending. And why should you avoid it? Well, to begin with, just fairness, because everyone should hear what everybody's saying. That's what a trial does, right? That's why the plaintiff gets up and the defendant hears what the plaintiff has to say. And then the defendant gets up and says stuff, and the plaintiff hears what the other side has said, and everybody hears it all at the same time. And that's just fundamental fairness. Well, how do you avoid that? Because honestly, your constituents don't know and shouldn't have to know. They're not here in this session, all of them. They shouldn't have to know that, because they expect to be able to buttonhole you. You're their representative. They expect to be able, and you want them to be able to speak with you. That interaction I mentioned earlier is really important to our representative form of government, and I really support it. This is sort of an exception to that, where you've got to tell them, no, I can't listen to you, whereas most of the time you want to be able to make yourself available, because they're not going to make that distinction, and they shouldn't have to make that distinction. It's your job to make that distinction. It's my job to help you make it. And so I've got a number of tricks when that does come up, and probably the most complex one is, well, this is a matter that's going to be heard at the hearing. It'd be inappropriate for you and unfair for me to speak with you now, and I'm going to encourage you to come to the hearing. Now, they want to talk to you now because, the hearing said Monday night, and there's other stuff going on Monday night. They have lives, and they'd rather be at that other stuff. Or it's just they want to be able to speak to you personally, or they're not comfortable coming to I get that. But nevertheless, you need to tell them I can't. Door number 2 is, well, I can't, and use me if you wish. I'm your tool. Say the city attorney won't let me. Sometimes it's use whatever tool you think will get the result, which is that the conversation kind of ends and they're going to come to the meeting, or at least be encouraged to. Door number 3 is, if I listen, I might have to step down and appeal to self-interest because they do want you to participate. Or say that you hear your spouse calling from the other side of the store and you're going to have to leave. Whatever gets you out of the conversation. But I'm sensitive to the fact you want to get out of the conversation without offending people, because they may well not understand. They may well think you're trying to avoid. And that's why I'm perfectly fine being blamed, because whatever it takes. Your relationship with your constituents is important to you. I don't want to affect that. At the same time, we don't want to have a situation where comes the hearing, someone else says, well, I understood that so-and-so really bent your ear, Councilmember Quinn, for the longest time, and how come they got that shot and I didn't, and had to come here? And so what to do if it's occurred, though, because you're about to say, Mr. Dahl, how do I know that they're going to tell me how they feel about this project before they've told me how they feel about this project? And I haven't had a chance to whip out that list. And I'm perfectly fine with, as soon as you sort of figure out, oh, it's that, then you launch into the explanation. I also get it, though, that it's hard maybe to unhook someone from a conversation politely. And at some point, you just absorb more than you would have preferred to absorb. There are fixes for that. If it was a pretty short conversation, but it's more than a conversation that just identified the problem and then they moved on, again, call me beforehand. This is now a theme. Call me beforehand, and I can provide the solution. And I've done this a couple of times too, where I've had to do a Q&A. I forget with who, but a Q&A saying, Councilmember so-and-so, is it true that you were approached by so-and-so? Yes. Did you tell them that they needed to come to the hearing? Yes. What did they tell you? Well, they told me this, this, and this. Thank you. Do you believe you can still render an impartial decision on the matter, listening to what's heard tonight, yes, thank you very much. We're off to the races. So I do that. And that's, again, another sort of little service that's my job to perform. And that's how to handle that. We're almost done. Open meetings law. All your meetings of the council are open meetings. When there's 3 of you in a meeting context, that's an open meeting. When we get to 5 members, that's a meeting that not only is open, but we have to have posted a 24-hour ahead notice that there will be a meeting. We're very good here at the city about posting notices. We know when groups of you will be in meetings for city business. And so that's not a problem, but just be aware that if three of you are meeting on city business and the press wants to watch you, they get to, or the public for that matter, they get to. 2 of you can meet anytime, any place, and talk about city business, and that's not an open meeting under Colorado's open meetings law. So there's that. You might say, well, we're friends too often. We get to know each other, we're friends, we go to weddings, there are other social events. The statute says chance social gatherings at which the discussion of public business is not the primary purpose. That's a direct quote in the statute, are not subject to the open meetings law. And I think it came up once in a church event where a quorum of the local board of trustees were members of the Catholic Church in this small town, and they were all in church together. Well, that's not a meeting for public business because that's not what you're discussing. Just be mindful of the fact that if there are a bunch of you at a social function, it's natural for human beings to want to kind of kibitz a little bit about the stuff that about their other lives in the form of council work. So try to keep it light, try to stay off of public business, because that will not be a meeting that got noticed, and we don't want to have to unwind it. An exception to open meetings is executive sessions. That's where there's a motion taken to go in executive session. The public is excluded. We do record executive sessions, but that recording is not made public. And that's for a pretty limited list of things. I've put them here. I think, here we go. Yeah, very limited. Legal advice from me, pending litigation that we need to deal with. Sometimes I'll advise there's this case that's been filed. Here's how we're dealing with it. Sometimes I'll ask for some direction. Personnel matters concerning individual city employees and real estate appraisals. But interestingly, just to receive the appraisal information, but you don't get to talk in executive session about the merits of buying or selling or what you might offer. That's a much narrower scope for executive sessions in this city than most other communities. Most other communities are just default to the state statute that would let you not only talk about what to offer, but kind of figure out your negotiating positions, et cetera. But that is not true here, because the charter is more restrictive than the state statute. And let's remember that would be a matter of local and municipal concern, right? Not statewide concern. So the charter actually controls over the state statute and controls in a way that is more restrictive than the state statute. So there's that. No formal action can be taken in executive session. I'm careful not to have, okay, let's do a consensus in the executive session. There's some room, and the council members that are of long standing will know that especially if it's legal advice or I need to make certain that the council is fully aware of an action the city's going to take in the case. I'll do one of 2 things. I'll just make sure I've gone around the room and gotten people's views. And sometimes I'll repeat it back and say, this is what I'm hearing, or is there objection? But increasingly, I favor, okay, let's have the conversation, and then we come back into open session to take an actual motion. Because the statute, and frankly, the case law around executive sessions is pretty unforgiving about taking actions in executive session or making it kind of look, act, smell like you kind of did the deal in executive session, and maybe it got rubber stamped in public session, but we think you actually made the decision. And our open meetings law is clear that the public business should take place in public. And that's why I'm really very careful around executive sessions sometimes have to politely cut council members off and say, no, we can't go that far. And that's outside of the scope of the session, which is really quite narrow. And the reason I'm doing that is not, to be unfriendly, but it's to keep us all out of trouble, because there are people that actually watch and have the right to watch it. And I've had to defend suits around the misuse or at least the alleged misuse of executive sessions. That's an exposure that I'm careful to prevent the city from having. I really appreciate your patience with this, especially for those of you that may have heard it before. I told you I'd get it done by 8, but it took a little longer. I'm sorry. Questions probably not now, or I'll take them. But as I mentioned at the top, this is the kind of thing that the questions, evolve over time. And I would not only expect, but I would hope that I get questions from you, because that helps me help you make your job more effective, and that's absolutely my task. But I think we've got a question from Councilmember Larson.
Yep. Councilmember Larson.
Yes, thank you. Can you offer some advice on the use of email, typically through the email account that we have with the city, when you've got a bit of information or some data that you believe supports an argument one way or the other, and you want the other people on the council to understand what that is?
Thank you. I really am grateful for that question, because somewhere in the materials I should have covered email, because email is a form of ex parte contact, isn't it? In the old days, we got letters, but nobody gets letters. 20 years ago, I'd advise councilmen, now when you get a letter, give it to the clerk. But I don't have to bother with that anymore, because nobody gets letters. On a quasi-judicial matter, on a land use matter, if you get an email from person X saying, I think you should vote no on this rezoning for the following 3 great reasons, what to do with that is to give that to probably Community Development Department. They will make sure that it ends up in their report or ends up distributed to everyone. And so we've solved that problem. It's no longer ex parte. It's made a part of the hearing record. You can certainly reply to the person and say, thank you. I've given this to the Community Development Department for sharing with council members. That's your constituent relations. I really support that. You shouldn't just ignore them. It's perfectly fine to say, thank you. Here's what I'm doing with that. Don't send it to all of the council members yourselves. And that allows me to say, and thank you, not to, if you get an email from a kid, don't reply to all, which creates a meeting, right? Because the open meetings law says a meeting of three or more, or in our case, a quorum, whether in person, telephonically, electronically, or otherwise, says the statute, which is an old statute and has yet to really be updated for modern technology. But it's well understood that by telephonically, electronically, or otherwise clearly includes email. So reply to all if all the council members are on it is a problem. Send it to Community Development Department if it's on a zoning matter. If it's on anything else, send it to Patrick. He and his staff will know how to get it to council members. The Wheat Ridge Speaks, of course, is a really good way for people to get comments to the council, to provide to the council in advance of a meeting. And I'm fine with you recommending people when they kind of call you randomly and say, if you want to get this information in front of council, Wheat Ridge Speaks, on this particular item, we'll record that for you. Saves you the trouble of having to give it to community development and they repurpose it. Some people don't want to do that and would rather kind of communicate one-on-one. I get that. But that's how to navigate that. Also allowing me to say when you get an email or perhaps a letter or something like that and you're not quite sure what box it fits into, then that's my job too. Reach out to me and I can help you decide what to do with it. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Holteen.
Thank you. It's always good to get refreshed on these. I've got a couple of some of them are a little rhetorical, but can you provide some clarification for 3 people meeting? Is there a difference between meeting in a public place or meeting in somebody's living room?
There isn't. it's still, quote, open. If I'm a member of the public, I'm the press, and I figure out that it's in your living room, I can show up. And I think you have to let me sit in the living room and watch you. Because open meetings law says 3 members meeting on public business, doesn't say, except if you're in a home.
Right.
And I know you know that, and I appreciate being able to say that. It's open, but let me also say, 24-hour notice ahead, no notice is required. So I don't try, none of us try to hide public business, but there will not have been a posted notice out. So it's probably a whole lot less likely that the press would just know, or anyone else would know, that you're meeting in the living room. But if they come to find out in some way and knock on the door, then you let them in.
Great. And then can you just talk about use of like email and personal phones for open records requests?
Thanks. To the governor's great distress a couple of governors ago, use of your private phone, your private computer for public business doesn't shield those communications from being communications that are open to the public, because those fall under another statute, the Open Records Act. We're talking about the open meetings law. I guess I'm going to have to add a section to this outline I'm doing on the Open Records Act. So communications that you have with people are open, and the documents you send and receive are in the exercise of your work as a council member are open. There is an exception in the Open Records Act for communications from a constituent that by their nature are intended to be confidential. But that's not a particularly well-written exception. But on balance, emails and letters, et cetera, are that you would send or receive are open. And your actual question was, if I use my home computer versus a city computer, if I use my home email address as opposed to my city email address, how about that? And the answer, as the governor and others found out, is if it's public business, it's public business. We don't care what computer you use. We don't care what phone you use. The best way to try to keep that separate, if possible, is for city business, use the city email address. And then it's all kind of in one place. And that's helpful because when there is the open records request that we manage at the city, there's probably one a week. Under the Open Records Act, I can request copies of all communications to and from Councilmember Ohm on the XYZ project in the last year. I have the right to request that as a member of the public. Now, if all of his communications are on his city email system, at least we know where everything is. And then we can pull those and we can determine if some of them were to or from me. Those are attorney-client privilege, and we will take those out. And when we get a request like this, I'm often asked to review the documents before they're provided to the requestor. But if he's used 3 different devices for that, for his work, we're going to have to look at all of them. And as I think it was the treasurer in Arapahoe County learned, if there's some personal stuff that's purely personal, we're going to have to winnow through that to determine, well, which is it? And that means looking at more stuff than I want to look at. So to the greatest degree possible, that's why we have the city email address.
Great, thank you. And then
Yep.
just, thank you for all of that. That's just important. So that what you just described is the thing that I think has caused me the most anxiety over 6 years, is just some of the communication stuff. Not
Yep.
that I have anything, but at times it does get a little messier than you want.
Yep.
I just also want to mention another incident that would require a 3/4 vote from council would be if there was a protest on a rezoning. And we actually have we have a procedure. Is it an ordinance that if there is a protest on a zoning hearing, that hearing's actually stayed until the next meeting, but then if there is a protest, it would require a supermajority. It would require a vote of at least 6 city council members for that zoning to pass. So that is another incidence of when a 3/4 vote would come into play. And then just one other thing to mention, we talked about citizens' rights to referendum and just also being clear that like we have the right to refer ballot measures. And there's a lot of tricky details and a lot of different circumstances, but at times our ability to refer a ballot measure is a more proactive opportunity in the event of a referral. So just, I didn't know for a long time the difference between a referred ballot measure and a referendum until I got elected. And so referendum is from the citizens and referral is from us. So just a couple of thoughts, but thank you for all of that. And as you guys can imagine, there's a lot of weedy details, and that's why we've got great staff. And certainly those of us who've been around for a while can also help you out.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Dean. Councilor Okada.
Thank you, Mr. Dahl. You said in the conflicts of interest section, you used a phrase a few times, step down. I'm pretty sure I know what you mean, but would you mind getting more specific with that?
Sure. If an actual conflict of interest is established for whatever reason, you are in fact a co-owner of, and to make it easy, a co-owner of the company that's up, whose contract is up to be, voted on. That gets disclosed. We do a little Q&A, pretty short Q&A that determines that you've got a financial conflict on this matter, a financial interest in the matter, and you need to step down. And when you do step down, I uniformly advise that the council members, once that's determined, we determine at the beginning of the agenda items, kind of not at the end. I've seen that happen in other cities. And it's like, really? You waited to the end to like now? So you do it at the beginning, you step down, and my consistent advice, not required in the charter, is to leave the room. Because there's a state statute that says when you do have a conflict, you disclose that, you don't vote, and you, quote, refrain from influencing the other members of the body in voting on the matter, close quote. And that's a direct quote from the statute. I was in the state Senate committee hearing room when they tacked that onto the statute, and I thought, well, what's that mean? But I think that means not sitting in the front row and giving sort of the high sign. And how's the best way to prove that you did not influence? You weren't in the room at all. Then there's no debate about it at all, and it just solves the problem, because otherwise we'll spend a lot of time saying why it was that being in the room still wasn't influencing. And you know that there will be someone that isn't satisfied with that answer, but they'll be satisfied because they have to be if you were not in the room. And we'll just send somebody to get you when that agenda item's over with, get coffee, come back, and that's what to do.
Perfect, thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Dahl.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing from you. You know how to reach me. I'll make sure you all have my contact information.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Goff, anything else?
Yeah, that's it for this evening. Just kind of very high level, more legal ramifications and topics. We're not done with orientation. We will get with the new council members, new electeds, on an orientation schedule. We don't have a mayor pro tem right now. Usually the mayor pro tem helps the city manager. We kind of have an odd gap right now. We changed the rules a couple of years ago now to appoint the mayor pro tem in January. So right now, because Mr. Stites was the mayor pro tem, we're going to be absent of mayor pro tem until January. So in the meantime, if there's any items, you have questions about agendas, the agenda items, come to me, and we'll work it out. The agendas will be fairly light through the rest of the year, so shouldn't be a huge issue. But other than that, we will get with you on scheduling for more orientation, really getting into the weeds of, we didn't want to overwhelm you too much in one night, and we won't do that going forward either, so we'll try to space it out. As Mr. Dahl said, it's not a one-time thing, right? It's you'll have questions that come up over time. So I'm here too, 24/7. I'll make sure you have all my contact information. So we really want to make sure that you have answers to your questions so you can do your jobs. So I think with that, Mr. Mayor, I think that's it.
Thank you,
for
Mr.
this
Scott.
evening.
All right. We will go to any of the elected officials that wanted to speak. Councilor Snell, did you have?
I'll be brief. I just wanted to, number one, recognize in the last few weeks, I think we have all seen a huge effort for food drives and clothing drives. And I just want to commend all of us and also encourage us to continue those efforts because of what we're looking at in our city, in our county, in our state, in our country. And also if there's something that any of you hear about, a food drive or a food collection, anything like that, please share it with our city manager so that we can all get the word out because, I appreciate very much the effort that's happened and it's really been encouraging to see these efforts, but I know that we can all get very weary. And so I want to make sure that we're continuing those because people got to eat. That's really, really important. And then I just want to also just now say I'm really very, very lucky to serve with all of you. I welcome all of our new counselors. Very happy to be serving with you. I am so lucky and fortunate to have served with our previous counselors. And I'm just looking forward to a lot of good stuff. We are going to do good stuff in our city. Our city deserves it. We have a great city. So looking forward to a lot of good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right. We will close tonight's study session. We have a study session a week from tonight, and I believe the judge will be back to see us again, right? To give us an update on the municipal court. I will remind counselors that are new, and I think this is good advice, is let's make sure that we go hard on the issues. Let's not go hard on each other. Make sure that we really work together and make sure that we have a fantastic council moving forward because we just let go of a very fantastic council. So thank you to the public and thank you to all the voters, and we look forward to seeing more of you over the next 4 years. So with that, I will close tonight's meeting and send everybody home.